And hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Mega Movie Podcast. My name is David Pustansky, and I'm joined by a very special guest today from the Electric Head. It is Ronald. How are you doing, Al?
I'm good. How are you? I've got a...
Oh, look at that. You've got props and things better than me already.
I always try and have something handy. Just
Joe, I'm learning from you. I have done this a little bit.
I tell you what, though, that is covered in dust.
Yeah. So if anyone's
that was a mistake.
Don't worry. If anyone's just listening to the audio version of this, Al had got a clapperboard prepared, and it was covered in dust, and he clapped it, and dust flew up in the air.
Make it sound more dramatic.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're just going to talk for a little while about films, TV shows, this kind of thing. So if anyone's watching the video version, and if you're not, I do suggest you go onto either the Extreme Improv Facebook page or YouTube channel, because that way you'll be able to get some visual references in here. But you may notice behind me, I have a Red Dwarf background, because the people that have been doing the Extreme Improv Extreme shows recently have been going crazy in the chat over the fact there was a new feature-length episode of Red Dwarf last week. Let's just start there. What did you think of The Promised Land?
What? I don't...
Oh, okay. Hang on. I do have
got my little scutter here for the listeners.
Yeah, you've got a scutter, and
this is just like the remastered edition. There's an end joke for you.
Okay, and I have a little star bug, but because it's green, my green screen is destroying it.
Promised Land. I thought it was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it, which is really nice to say about Red Dwarf.
Yeah. So okay. Are you, just so we work out, I can't put my star bug away, so we can work out if we're on the same page here.
Yeah.
Are we both in the camp where we feel that the more recent attempts, and when I say more recent attempts, anything post-season or Series 6 hasn't been as good?
It would be wrong, and it hurts me to say, but it would be wrong to say that it has been as good post-Series 6, but... yeah. It never has, really. But I still enjoy it because I think everything Red Dwarf has something that I like about it. But yeah, I definitely don't go back and watch some of the post. Although I thought the Dave series, Red Dwarf numbering, this is going to get complicated. Yeah. 11 and 12?
Yeah, I thought 10, 11 and 12 were all quite good.
Yeah.
I didn't like Back to Earth, the mysterious season 9.
I spent as long as I could pretending to like Back to Earth, and then watched it again recently, and it's not great.
It's not great.
There's some good bits in it, though.
There are some good bits. It felt like they got the opportunity to film on the set of Coronation Street, and that took up a lot of time.
Why wouldn't you take that opportunity for your science fiction sitcom?
Yeah. Okay, so rather than let's just talk a little bit more about The Promised Land, and then we can go back, talk some classic Red Dwarf stuff, and then dip into some other things. The Promised Land. What did you think of it overall? What did you think of the story?
So I didn't expect it to be very good.
Okay,
but I was like, it's Red Dwarf. It'll be fine. It'll be good. I didn't get myself too hyped, but. Especially because it was feature length, and that made me slightly concerned straight away. Because
thank God they had a laughter track.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the way it was made was amazing because it was like a single camera kind of filmic thing, but also an audience sitcom. I don't know if I've ever seen anything that's done that before. I can't think of anything.
Yeah, it's interesting just because they have done single camera before. And then I think the other series they've done on Dave have just gone straight back and filmed it in front of an audience.
Yeah.
But maybe there was certain bits or scenes which
far as I know, that there was some of it that was filmed in front of the audience, and then they just played in the other bits. I think everything.
There you go.
What was the name of the ship? The Iron something.
Oh, I can't remember.
Okay, the Iron something. I can't remember. But I think that was all pre-recorded. But yeah, it felt like Series 7 feels like a comedy drama that has a laugh track put over it, whereas this one weirdly felt like there was an audience there, which was bizarre.
So did back in the day you get, like, when it came out on VHS, or maybe they put it on DVD as well, like the extended version of Series 7 where there's no laughter track?
Yes, yeah.
My God, it's painful, isn't it?
It's weird, yeah, it's weird. It doesn't work at all.
And like, the reason I think it doesn't work is that they're playing it and leaving the breathing space for laugh.
They leave
And
the gaps.
Yeah, so there's gaps, and
you're just sitting at home in silence for 4 or 5 seconds, just feeling sad.
And I remember, like, back in the day, I'd try and work out why it felt like it didn't work, because if you watch a movie, it doesn't have a laughter track. But what I think it is that, one, the rhythm is slightly different for how you play it, and two, if you're watching like Trading Places or something, they have all the Carry On films. They've got music cues which kind of punctuate laughs.
Yeah, it was a strange one. It
was very, very strange.
But yeah, I thought like Promised Land actually sustained, like, I mean, it was a bit Betty in places, but all the bits that felt like additional bits were all really funny. So
yeah, can you give an example of what you mean by that?
It was just there was a lot of sort of what felt like they could be scenes from other episodes.
Sure.
You know, like the opening, mostly in the first sort of third of it, but they all made me laugh. Like the Rimmer and his SOS, Rimmer and Crichton scene with the SOS call. Really funny. Like, I like when they really naff Red Dwarf humor, but that's what you want.
yeah, and I always loved like the ideas they come up with, like the sci-fi things, like the idea that they've now put into the world that as well as soft light and hard light, there is now diamond light.
Yeah, they just keep adding stuff. It's good.
Yeah. And the costume for Rimmer, it couldn't have made him look less like a superhero, frankly.
It was the Mighty Light.
Yeah, but like he's got like, you can actually see it if you're looking at the video version, like the breastplates that he'd got, which were just like these two mounds on his chest.
It was good stuff. Like, it was a funny costume, which is hard to do, and they didn't just go down the Ace Rimmer route, which I thought was quite fun.
Oh, do you know, there was a point though where I felt he should have said "Smoke me a kipper," and everyone that would have got a huge cheer.
There's a Rimmer pop.
But I also felt that it was reminiscent. Every time they bring Holly back, you get Holly gets the exact same reaction of when his face comes up. Everyone in the audience goes, "Way!" It's weird. They did it in series 7. They did it in this one, and I think they have
like a cult group that come to the recordings, and you can hear it. Yeah.
Okay, so what did you think of now? Okay, so we mentioned this when perhaps we didn't mention this the Extreme Improv shows. We might have just mentioned it when we were talking about Red Dwarf before or after, but just
in our social lives.
Yeah. But I think you said about this as well, so this will be an interesting little story. But they've done a couple over the years of Red Dwarf fan film competitions or short film competitions run by the BBC and the Red Dwarf people.
All these sad people that get involved in these things. It's terrible, isn't it?
But so I did quite well in the two that there may have been more that I'm not aware of, but the two that I'm aware of at least. The first one was before they released the season 7 DVD, and I entered a short animated film, and it was a commendable runner-up, and it was on the DVD. And then there was later another one, which I think you said you entered as well.
It's weird because I've probably seen that film and not put it together yet.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know what your film was. You know, I don't know.
So mine wasn't. Yeah, mine wasn't for the DVD competition. That was for I think it was a YouTube competition.
Yeah, it was with Robert Llewellyn.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the years gone by, I've tried to get where he announced the winners, and he's taken it off of his channel, probably because people were arguing. And I don't have a copy of it, so
that's annoying.
I've got a copy of my film, but I don't have a copy of when he said, and he said mine was really good. He liked the script, but the audio wasn't that good back in the day. So
that's what was my down, was it?
Yeah, that was my letdown.
You could be famous by now. So we did. Ours is still on YouTube. If you go to the Electric Head YouTube channel, you'll have to scroll, but it's there. It's called Red Dwarf the movie, and it's a review of the Red Dwarf movie after Hollywood gets its hands on it.
Oh, that sounds very cool.
So we had, what did we have? I think Cy, my comedy partner, Cy Henty, played, was it Rimmer? No, it was Lester. He played Lester, but as if Jack Nicholson had gotten the role.
Oh, amazing.
I can't remember what. Oh, yeah, the cat had been changed to a pygmy hippo.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what else, but it was very silly.
Yeah. Now, the reason I sort of mention this and bring it up is just because on the previous fan film competition that they did, the episode I created, which lasted about it might have had a 5-minute time limit or something like this. I created a short animated episode which was called Planetoid of the Cats, and it was a take on Planet of the Apes. And it was based on the idea that in the early series, they said that there were 2 arcs had left Red Dwarf, and one had thought they had to fly this way, and the other thought they had to fly that way to go to Fuchal. And one had crashed into a meteorite or a star or something like this, and the other one just went on forever. And my story was like, I can't believe they've never done anything with these characters.
Yeah.
And I can't even remember the full story, except for I know that I had them all captured by like a rogue group of cats. And I swear if I can dig this up and look at it, it is basically the same plot as the Promised Land.
Yeah, well, maybe someone got there.
One thing I don't think I thought.
A co-conspiracy.
Yeah, I know. If I can find it, though, and it is actually identical, I will put it out there and make it known.
Do you have a giant floppy disk in it? Because if so...
I don't think I do, actually. But the thing that I thought was really interesting is that they introduced the idea that... Oh, what was the main new character, the cat? He's behind me here.
Is it Rohan or Rodan is Godzilla, isn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't Rodan.
I can't remember. But the idea that he is the cat's brother, I thought that was very good. And I think I wish they'd done more with it. It
seemed that would be one of my only criticisms of it, is that for an episode surrounding cats, there wasn't much cat.
Yeah, he didn't even interact with him much.
I had to. So one thing I liked about watching it on Dave was watching it live was the advert breaks. And all the way through it, I was watching it with my girlfriend, Debbie, and the first advert break, I was like, that was quite funny, wasn't it? I quite liked that. And she's like, yeah, that was quite good. And I'm like, we'll see how it goes. Next advert break, still funny. I'm still laughing. This is still quite good. And it went on like that. And then one of the breaks, I was like, why is the cat not reacting? That was my big worry. And the way we logicked it out during the advert break was that cats aren't really that bothered by other cats. They just kind of ignore them. And
true.
That's how I got my head around that script issue, is that the cat doesn't really socialize with other cats.
Well, also the other thing is I think they've notoriously underused the cat. Like when you go from like series 7, 8, like 9, 10, 11, 12, it was only, I think in series 12 they did a cat-centric episode.
Well, there was meant to be one before that, wasn't there?
It rings a bell.
Is it Identity Within? I think it was called. It's on one of the DVDs.
It is on this DVD actually, where
the rare Body Snatcher collection.
Yeah, I'm trying to see what is it called?
Just showing off your eBay treasure trove.
Do you know what? This was actually the prize I won for the YouTube competition.
That's what I wanted. That's the whole reason I did that. I did eventually get a copy.
But do you know what? Look at this. They didn't even sign it, so it wasn't signed. So it's just the same as if you go to CEX.
They became really expensive, those DVDs, for some reason.
Did they?
Yeah.
Well, now we're in this lockdown situation. I may have to eBay.
Get it on eBay.
But so it was only in the last.
We're basically all living in Red Dwarf now. That's what I quite like.
What's that?
Life is now just like living in Red Dwarf.
It is. Everyone's in quarantine. Yeah. I was going to say, so it was only in the last series they did the storyline where the cat was trying to mate with someone. I've only watched it once, to be honest.
Yeah. But it was a budget thing, so they couldn't do it for, I think, budget reasons. So they never did. They never went back to it.
Yeah. Okay, so we've spoken a little bit about Red Dwarf, and like if we do like another one of these later, we can dip into specific episodes. But as a first thing, let's find out what else you like. You mentioned that we'll stick with the TV British sci-fi for now. You mentioned that you're a fan of Doctor Who. Is that correct?
Of course I am.
Excellent.
Anyone? Oh, I see. Nice.
Yeah.
I like it. Is it accurate?
I have props. I
mean, it's who's at the front in that one?
I think this is only up to the 11th.
It's a bit out of date.
Yeah, it's a little bit out of date. But
I didn't bring my Doctor Who props. I should have, but I didn't. But know that they exist.
They do exist. I did a podcast with Adam Hughes, also from Extreme Improv, a week ago, and he's a big Doctor Who fan. And in fact, I think Alan, did you do the show with Alan last week?
Yes.
Okay, he's doing some Doctor Who based show, so I need to speak to him about that. But I can speak to you about this off things. Yeah. But I think if you're a Doctor Who fan, you'd be great. So
no, I'm a big Doctor Who fan, and
okay, so important question.
Yeah.
Who is your Doctor?
My Doctor is Sylvester McCoy.
Interesting. Is that just because of how old you were when you started watching?
Yeah, he was the first one I watched.
Okay. How old are you, if I can be so bold?
30 something.
Okay, you're 30 something.
I have to count it up. 36.
Okay, so you're only.
I can honestly never remember how old I am.
Don't worry, I am going to be 35 in a few weeks' time, and so the Seventh Doctor was my Doctor when I first started watching, and so when their show repeats, he was the still current Doctor. Yeah. So we're from the same time period. But for me, I would actually say the Doctor who I really got into it was actually Matt Smith.
Okay.
So like I always watched it. I watched it every episode when it came back, but I really liked the storytelling in the new series and the storylines they did, the episodes with the Weeping Angels and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it was the Matt Smith era.
It was a good era, that one. I could see that, Yeah, for me it was, because I was like, I remember, I think maybe about 6, watching the Remembrance of the Daleks episode in particular, when it flew up the stairs, and just losing my mind as a 6-year-old.
And actually, it's interesting because when they brought it back, they made a big deal out of the Daleks can fly now, and everyone was like, they already could.
I'm sitting there going, I think you'll find.
I think you'll find in 1988.
Yeah,
or whatever
I was quite lucky though, because my dad was a big Doctor Who fan, so and I found it fascinating because you couldn't really get hold of the older episodes back then, like for a while before they started coming out on VHS. And so the only Doctor I knew was Sylvester McCoy, and I had a 25th anniversary book or some 20th, 25th, something like that. But it had like a bio in each of the previous Doctors, and I was just like, what? There's more? So it was like a mythical thing. And then I remember one of our neighbors, I don't know how I worked this out, but he was a massive Doctor Who nerd, so he had a Dalek in his front room, and
how big? Full size?
Full size. As far as I remember, I mean, I was 6 or 7, so I could have I could have just added a Dalek into this memory. I have no idea. But he certainly had like all the Airfix monsters and loads of the VHS tapes. So I'm pretty sure he lent us VHS tapes. So I then got to watch all the old Doctor episodes as well, which was quite cool.
So would you say you're more of a old school Doctor Who fan rather than a new era?
I think I'm just an old Doctor Who fan. Yeah, maybe. No, I like all of it, to be honest. I like the new era just as much, but I do have a fondness for the classic stuff. In fact, I just got, for this lockdown, everyone's getting Disney Plus, but I just treated myself to BritBox so I can work my way through all the classic Doctor Who's.
Very good choice.
God,
I've seen a lot of. See, with me, I've seen an awful lot of the old Doctor Who's when I've but mostly the way I've discovered them is that if something's come into the new one, I'm like, oh, they're bringing back this character. I need to go watch and look up who they are to get the context. So it's like, of course I know the Great Intelligence or whatever,
See, a lot of that stuff though, I had heard of, but I never really thought of Doctor Who as having like a canon or a universe until the new series, and people say, oh, they're bringing back the Great Intelligence, and I'm like, the what? That was it just goes over your head, because like John Pertwee or whoever says, oh, it's the Great Intelligence, you're like, oh, that's funny, that's a funny name. And then that's it.
Well, I think it's only from like the new series when they brought it back where they started trying to make it very much that, right, what's happened is going to make sense, and even if we're going to change it, we'll try and explain away why there's changes. Just because, again, when you look into the older stuff, there'd be inconsistencies with, like, every time you'd regenerate, it would be a different method, and they were like, no, we're going to keep it uniform from this point onwards.
I mean, it makes sense. I like that uniform, but I also quite like the ingenuity of some of the old regenerations.
Favorite regeneration?
That is a good question. I think probably the first one, the Hartnell Troughton one, because it's so clever. Just the way it's just 2 shots, like
and it was just whited out, and when it came back.
But I think at the time, it must have been pretty crazy. And also just, I like it because people must have been watching it at the time, just like, what is going on? Like,
Yeah.
what is this?
Yeah.
And then to have Patrick Troughton it just suddenly replace William Hartnell, it's so different. I think that must have just been amazing.
Yeah. I tell you what, when they brought it back in 2005, I was so upset that it had leaked out that Christopher Eccleston was leaving, because I think everyone watching would have been in such shock. And we were robbed of that because of the leaks.
Yeah, especially like for kids just getting into it, then that would have been. It's weird though with the regeneration, isn't it? Because it's harrowing as a child. You're Sylvester McCoy era, so you would be like me, where you never really had the harrowing shock of your Doctor regenerating until you watch the TV movie, and he gets mowed down by a machine gun. It's just the worst thing I'd ever seen.
And then it's almost like he could have lived, but because they tried to save his life, the Doctor's
it was horrendous. I remember watching it just thinking, what is happening? This is horrible. But I like Paul McGann, so it's fine.
So have you listened to the audio dramas and stuff?
Yeah, I listened to quite a lot of the Big Finish.
See, I really haven't, so...
Yeah, I listened to quite a lot. Paul McGann is amazing in those. Really, really good. They're all pretty good. In fact, Colin Baker's one of the best on the audio dramas.
Is he?
I know, right?
Well, Redemption, I suppose. Redemption.
Yeah, there's some really, really good ones. He has a good... It's an interesting take on the Doctor, but I think, like him and Sylvester McCoy, the production value of their era is just hard to get past.
Yeah.
Sometimes
it's something when because it's often because Doctor Who is so ambitious in its storytelling and science fiction that it's difficult to even watch the more recent ones. You can start to really see where things have aged quite quickly.
Yeah, I was surprised going back to the 2000, like the David Tennant era, just how dated it looked already.
Yeah,
just makes you feel really old.
Well, when you exactly. But even when you go back to like the Christopher Eccleston, like the pilot episode, and it's got like they make the
the
plastic, the Autons, where they look like plasticky, and it's like the Mickey that looks plasticky. It's like it's very bad looking, and then the bin bar
has a charm to it though. That's what I like. That's sometimes one of the things I think is missing slightly with the new ones, is that the charm of not having the budget to meet the ambition is sometimes not there.
Yeah, could be true.
Not okay, so complaining, but it's a difference.
Have you seen everything up to date? Just so I don't go into spoiler territory.
Yes, okay. I have.
So
I think I missed one episode of the new series, but that was deliberate. That was the Tesla episode, because I'm actually writing a Doctor Who story with Tesla in it. So I don't
amazing.
Be influenced by that.
Okay, so we'll stay off of that. What were your thoughts on the idea that there's now, gosh knows how many versions of the Doctor? The number system was messed up about 4 or 5 years ago now, and there's no coming back.
I hate saying negative things about Doctor Who.
Yeah,
because there's too much. To be honest, I didn't particularly love much in that series. I think Jodie Whittaker's potentially great, but I just don't think it's not the best it's been by quite a long way. And I think with that ending, there's too many unanswered questions, which is fine because there's still time, but given what we've seen so far, I don't necessarily trust the questions to get answered satisfactorily, so I'm a little bit concerned about that. I don't really have a problem with messing with the history of Doctor Who, because you can always fix it again.
I don't think they can. They can't suddenly say, "Well, actually, she's the 90th Doctor." I think just the numbering system.
It's a bit odd.
It's been so messed up now.
I think, but equally though, they could just come back next series and have the Master say, "Yeah, I was lying," and it would be fine.
Okay, so but who was who is the actress? Is it Jo Martin or someone? Who is she?
Yeah.
Then, if it's...
I don't know. And I think we're supposed to be on a knife edge trying to work it out, but I don't think it was for me anyway, it wasn't written in a way that made me want to delve too deep into it, because I don't trust that the answers are coming. I hope they are.
I don't think the answers are coming. It's just.
I think an answer will come, but I don't know if the answers were in place.
I just remember around the time of the 50th, which is what the image behind me, I think, probably comes from, that there was the answer to the question, Doctor Who, and stuff like that. And there's no answer. They didn't do anything with it, you know.
Yeah.
I always wanted that it turned out that the Doctor's actual name is John Smith or something.
Yeah.
And that if I could have written my fan fiction of it, I would have had it so that the young Doctor and the Master perhaps he was more of a rogue, and he chose to go down a good path. And say there was like a doctor or someone that got killed or something, and he decided, I'm now going to be the Doctor because this person got killed, and their name was John Smith. No, sorry, and his name was John Smith or something.
Yeah.
And so he took on the idea of being a doctor from the person.
I like it.
I won't go into the whole fan fiction, but I just thought if they gave something to it where it's like, well, we've had the answer for 50 years. His name is John Smith. That would have been great.
Yeah, I felt like a lot of it I'd sort of seen before. Like the War Doctor being introduced was very similar to the new Doctor and stuff. I don't know. I didn't get too excited by it, but hey, it's Doctor Who. Peaks and troughs. We're used to it.
Yeah,
We've seen the trial of a Time Lord. Whoa.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have a favorite? We'll come off of Doctor Who, and we'll begin to wrap this one up. We'll keep this short because we're going to record another podcast about video games. So if you're listening to this mega movie podcast, which I don't mention the name of often enough, then you should check out in a minute. We'll do the Games Monster podcast.
We haven't talked about any movies yet.
Well, I think we'll have to save that for another day. But okay, so very quickly, to end on Doctor Who, what's your favourite villains?
Villains?
Yeah.
Okay, well, the Daleks are obviously up there. I'll give you my top three. The Daleks.
Yeah.
I know what my number one is. I love the Yeti from The Web of Fear. I think they're amazing. My number one Doctor Who villain is, and will always be, the Zygons.
Really?
I just love the Zygons.
Okay, so what was the classic story they were in?
Terror of the Zygons was a Tom Baker episode set in. It was set in Scotland, which that's not why it's my favourite episode. I just loved the Zygons because they were terrifying but also ridiculous, which I always loved. And they roll out their S's. Zygons.
I like the idea of them. I have seen the classic episode, but I watched it in preparation, and I don't really remember it. I watched it in preparation for when they brought them back, and even that episode, I can't really remember too much now off the top of my head.
It was the 50th, wasn't it? Oh no, they did.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, they came back in the 50th, but I think there was a Peter Capaldi one that had them in as well.
Oh, okay. See, I'd even forgot that. It's like the silence have got me, and I'm just forgetting.
Yeah.
But other than that, my favourite is going to be, the Daleks, obviously. I love the Weeping Angels. I can't get enough
that's a good
of that.
one.
And then something else. It was only a one-off thing, but just the idea of it. And again, I've been speaking to people about how relevant it is with the current world situation here. But the Waters of Mars episode, that was a David Tennant episode.
Yeah.
The idea that there's this thing and it's just one drop of something. You can see how one droplet is relevant to nowadays.
Yeah, that's a good one. Might have to go back and rewatch that one.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's between Blink and the Waters of Mars, they're the two episodes which I almost feel like they're wasted being a Doctor Who story. They could be like a horror franchise.
Well, I think it was Stephen Moffat who said that a good Doctor Who story is a wasted feature film idea.
I completely agree. I completely agree with that.
But yeah, speaking of Zygons, I did write a Doctor Who story for a charity Doctor Who novel with Zygons.
What? So where can people get this places?
I'm not sure. I think you can still get it. There's certainly online somewhere. It's called Seasons of War, and it's about the War Doctor. So in my story, the War Doctor meets Don Quixote and fights some Zygons.
Amazing. Love it. So check that out.
See if people can track it down.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, very quickly. I don't think we'll stick too long on movies, but tell me about movies. What's your favourite movies, or is there a particular movie you want to bring up?
I don't know if I really have a particular favourite movie. There's a few that spring to mind, but I'm not sure exactly what they are.
Fantastic. So anyone not watching the video version, he's got a Proton Pack from Ghostbusters. That looks really authentic. Where did you get that?
It's not bad, right? This is actually, so this is something I've got a full Ghostbusters outfit.
Of course you do.
Yeah. And I've had my eye on this for ages. It's a Halloween, Spirit of Halloween, the American company.
No, I didn't know.
So it's basically just plastic, but I'm going to paint it up and find out. But yeah, it's probably Ghostbusters. I think it's possibly the film I've rewatched the most times.
Okay, so is that the original Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters 2?
I think the original was a masterpiece of fun and adventure and comedy, but I do have a soft spot for Ghostbusters 2. I'd be lying if I said I didn't. But
I really like Ghostbusters 2. I don't know where the idea that people don't like it. To me, I love them both.
It's certainly not the original, but there's some great lines in it. It's funny.
Do you know what?
It's got Vigo in it.
I know. I was going to say, there's the potential that I've actually seen Ghostbusters 2 more than the original, just because it came out. Because the original came out about 83 or something before I was born.
Yeah.
And so when Ghostbusters 2 came out, I'd seen the first
89 Ghostbusters 2
yeah.
came out.
But when the second one came out, it was like right when I started watching it. So I think I've seen that more.
I think possibly people who are a bit older who liked the first one found the second one a bit too kid friendly, whereas people our age who liked the first one or whatever, but the second one was like right when we were getting the toys and basically it's a marketing ploy that worked on me, and I can completely understand why it didn't work on everyone else.
Yeah. Did you ever have the toys when you were young?
Yes.
So the toys were of the real Ghostbusters, as they were called, the cartoons, and they didn't look anything like them.
No,
nothing like
really,
them at all.
No. You mean they didn't look like
the actors?
Yeah. Well, they said it. There's a myth that the reason that the cartoon didn't look like the actors is because they couldn't get the rights to the likenesses, but that's actually not true as far as I know. Let me just check my giant book of Ghostbusters, but I think it's because they wanted to separate it from the movie. So I think it was Dan Aykroyd's idea.
But he's the one that looks most like his character.
Yeah, that's what's weird about it.
Yeah. But like Peter Venkman looks nothing like him.
I'm trying to find it. Oh no, it's audio. Some of this.
Interestingly, Al, I do this like lockdown vlog series because I've been doing a travel vlog series with my girlfriend, and we've been doing one in lockdown.
Yeah.
And I've got the pets aqua dragons, which are like little sea monkey things. And on the episode which I put out yesterday,
I saw this. Yeah.
The aqua dragons named after the Ghostbusters.
Yeah. I enjoyed that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was good.
So that's a coincidence, but
we need some more for Ninja Turtles and.
Yeah. Okay, so do you know what? Did you say Ninja? To me, they're still Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles.
Do you know what? As I said that, it felt a bit wrong, but I think over the years I've just got used to saying Ninja. I think.
Yeah, me too. Well, the movie was Ninja Turtles.
Yeah,
but it's
I think
violent.
It's just been drummed into me over the years, and now I say Ninja, which is actually really bizarre. Thanks for pointing out. I'm going back to Hero.
That's cool. Okay, so talk a tiny bit more about Ghostbusters here.
No one has ever said to me, talk a tiny bit more about Ghostbusters, and then been here for less than 3 hours. No, I just think Ghostbusters, I loved it when I was a kid. My sense of humor, it's kind of grown from a lot of things, but Ghostbusters is definitely one of those things. But as I've gotten older as well, I'm fascinated with it because I'm a writer and write comedy, and I've written some film scripts and all that kind of thing. I'm fascinated with it as a piece of writing because it shouldn't be good on any level.
Why?
Because there's, I'm sure there's YouTube videos that will describe this better than me. But here's if you can answer this question, what is Ghostbusters about? And I know what the plot is, but what's it about? You could say Jaws is about divorce or, whatever. You could say something on a thematic level. What is Ghostbusters
divorce?
about?
Do you know what? I haven't seen Jaws enough to actually get that. But okay, I'm not going to have an intelligent enough answer for what is Ghostbusters about. Starting a business? I don't know.
Yeah, see, the most that I can work out.
There's a love story in there.
Is there though?
Sort
It's
of.
the creepiest love story of all time. The only thing that doesn't date well in Ghostbusters is Peter Venkman's sexism. It's the 80s. We always let it go. But yeah, it's like the only thing I can work out is that it's about like kind of like about being taken seriously for something that people think is crazy.
Wow.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe could
That's
be.
all I like. I can't get anything else.
Do you know what though? I think the people that may have even put that question in to make you think that you need to answer that question, they're overthinking it.
No, it's true, but you know, there's always, it's just an interesting film that way, and I like because originally Dan Aykroyd's version of it, I think it's well documented, but I think the Marshmallow Man appears on like page 4 or something.
Wow.
And, the rest of the script is about, there's an international corporation called Ghostbusters, and they fight all these giant monsters, and it's cosmic, and they go all over. It's crazy. And it was Ivan Reitman who read it, and he liked the conceit of it, but thought the script was insane, and said maybe it should just be a going into business story.
Yeah,
and so that's where it came from. But
a
I love that
business,
kind of
a
thing.
startup.
Yeah, I love the idea of like, I don't think any one person is responsible for what makes that movie so good. It's like a collaborative. If you didn't have Bill Murray, who came in late because John Belushi died, he was supposed to.
God, what's the alternate reality version of that going to be like?
I know, right? I can't remember.
Yeah.
I think Eddie Murphy was in that original idea.
Yeah, quite possibly.
John Candy played Louis Tully.
Really?
Yeah, but he wanted to do it with a thick German accent, and they wouldn't let him do it, so they got Rick Moranis instead.
Do you know what? I like Rick Moranis in it, but I love John Candy movies.
Unless I'm getting that mixed up with The Breakfast Club. Because Rick Moranis was the janitor in The Breakfast Club. But then
okay.
I'm getting my Rick Moranises mixed up.
Wow. Try to think. What else? So there was Ghostbusters Go to Hell or something like this that they wanted to make in the 90s.
Yeah.
Didn't obviously come.
Ghostbusters 3's been booted around for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, and I think the idea was that Bill Murray always was able to put the kibosh on it, and I'm not even sure how that's possible.
Because it's Bill Murray, I suppose.
Is he so essential that they couldn't have gone forward without him?
Yeah.
Or would we want them to?
Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, I don't know what the truth is of that, but of course we're getting it. Now a year away.
Yeah.
Should have been, when was it due out? July?
I think so, yeah. But how much of the original Ghostbusters going to be in it?
Apparently they're all in it.
Yeah, but for how long? Because they were all in the reboot a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Not a fan of that?
I wanted to be. I desperately wanted to be. But no.
I wanted to like it. I really didn't enjoy it. I felt that...
I just didn't think it was that funny, personally.
No, I didn't. I thought there were some of the ideas in it I liked. One, I felt they should have emulated the visual look of the ghosts from the original.
Yeah.
So that it still stayed in. But also, whereas you can see how in certain ways the characters were a retread of the originals, all of the characters seem to all be each other at different times.
Yeah, in Ghostbusters,
the stupid one. Sorry, go ahead.
In Ghostbusters, they all have a very distinct personality that kind of forms a whole. But yeah, in that new one, they all felt like variations of the same character a little bit. Yeah, I wanted to like that one, but I think that the big thing for me was that what I love about Ghostbusters is that the way the script is presented is it all seems plausible somehow. Like the science and just the way they act, they smoke cigarettes and they get oily overalls, and it all seems kind of plausible. Whereas the new one just felt a bit shiny and a bit too fantasy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Alien.
Well, and also they bring Bill Murray into it just to... does he fall out a window or something and they kill him off?
Yeah.
And yet his scene up until that point was good.
For me, the most fascinating thing about Ghostbusters is that by the time you get to the beginning of Act 3 or whatever, they managed to introduce a 50-foot marshmallow man. And the script is so good and so plausible up to that point that when it gets there, the audience just go, oh, I'm going with this. Whereas actually, you should get to that scene and be like, no, this is too stupid. But they said, I remember reading, it's probably in this book, about the first screenings of it. They just assumed that, you know, the audience would get to the Marshmallow Man and just check out. Just like, this is dumb. For some reason, you don't. It's just funny.
Well, I love but like the thing is, there is a flaw there, which I always pick up on every time, where when Peter says like, okay, just clear your head. If we're going to, I forget what the example is, you might remember, if we think about this, then this is going to come again.
If we think of J. Edgar Hoover, then
he thought of it. Why didn't it come? He gave an example. You can't clear your mind and give an example.
For me, that's what makes it even funnier, though.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
And for the payoff of Ray having thought of something, it's just comedy genius.
The one thing that could never hurt us.
A 50-foot marshmallow man. You should get to that point in the movie. On paper, you read it and go, that is never going to play. Like, no one's going to go with this.
I'm trying to... But, like, the stuff, like, even with, like, the dog and no one's helping Rick Moranis earlier, I love the bit where it's chasing him.
It's slapstick as well. Yeah. It's just got
He's so good at, like, the physical... It's, like, very silent movie. It's all on his face. You don't really need to hear him. Even though his voice is funny, too.
The only character in the movie that's playing it as a comedy. I think everyone else is playing it straight.
It's interesting, just because Bill Murray's natural delivery always could be straight, but it's always funny.
I think that he's the only one though that's playing it like it's a screwball comedy. Whereas everyone else is playing it, especially Harold Ramis is the best straight man in the world.
He's so much creepier in the first one than the second one.
Yes.
Like, it was something that when I watched it 2 or 3 years back, I was like, God, his character's really not how I remembered it.
I just remembered that, although, is it Ghostbusters 2? One of my favourite Egon lines when they say something about, I'm sure all the ladies were impressed, and Egon says, they were far more interested in my epididymis.
I can't remember what that means.
Exactly. I think it is scrotal.
Okay, there you go.
I believe. But,
yeah. Okay, cool. So, Al, shall we wrap this one up here and move on to our next venture?
Which is video games.
It is, yeah.
Cool. So I would just my Ghostbusters the video game stuff, right?
Go for it. So I'll just do the wrap up on this and then start the next one. So if you're wondering what I'm talking about here, I'm not going to edit it out, but we're about to record an episode of the Games Monster podcast. But this has been the Mega Movie Podcast. My name is David Pustansky. You can follow me on social media by looking up David Pustansky, which is spelled Pustansky. And of course, here we have Al Ronald. How can we find you in the Electric Head, just so people wonder?
The Electric Head on Facebook. We're currently doing the Electric Head podcast once a week. So that comes out on Mondays, which is on Spotify and, I don't know, wherever people get podcasts. If it's not there, messages on Facebook and we'll put it there. And Things Al Saw on Instagram is my Instagram, and the Electric Head Comedy on Instagram. I think that's it. I'm losing track. There was much less to think about before isolation.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's a nightmare.
Okay, so also, I need to mention the Extreme Improv stuff. So you can find this podcast as a video on the Extreme Improv Facebook page and Extreme Improv YouTube channel, which is just either facebook.com or youtube.com/Extreme Improv. And the podcast is available on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Alexa, Spreaker, and all of this other stuff. So do check it out there. Until next time, this has been the Mega Movie Podcast. Thanks so much, and bye for now.
Bye-bye.